I'm going to tell you the secret to creativity that I don't tell you about, that almost no one talks about. What is the dark side of having a purpose, of having ambition just naturally without having to necessarily discipline yourself so much, without having to work for it? You just have this drive, you want to do something, and you know this is your life path. A lot of people live without purpose. They don't really know why they're here or what to do with themselves. And I feel for them because that must be really hard to live with. Um, I've always known I wanted to be a musician, and I've always had that, but it does come at a cost. I started making music at about 14 years old, and at first I had all these feelings in me I wanted to get out, and they came out in the music, and it felt so good. Uh, Having created something and know that I made this was like the best feeling in the world, and I just wanted to feel that all the time, every day. Because I didn't know it at the time, but I wasn't really happy with myself and my life. So I started to lean into the music to give me that feeling of satisfaction, to feel like I was enough, I had done enough, and I had done something good, and I'd done what I'm supposed to do. I kept trying to write. I was expecting that same creativity I had at first, but when it when it wasn't there, I would become frustrated, confused, and worried, and I'd fight with myself internally about it, trying to figure out what's wrong with me. I didn't know that creativity comes in waves. Sometimes you just have to let go of it. You need to breathe in and out. I was just focused and obsessed, and I didn't know what was going on. So this very quickly led me into a deep spiritual journey, discovering all of the pain in my body, in my mind, all of the sadness, all the self-hatred, fears, lots of fear, so many things. And I knew that that is not the natural state of the human body, to feel that way, to wake up tired, to be anxious and depressed all day, and yet not be able to go to sleep at night, always too tired and too wired at the same time. Just nothing makes sense. You can't just sit down and just feel good and feel excited about your life and have a sense of well-being. That sense of well-being and comfort was completely gone for me. I went years without any kind of comfort inside. And I knew that was not right, that's not natural, and that is not a life sentence. Everybody can free themselves and get back into a natural state of well-being and happiness and inner peace. That has always been my aim. I've always known it was possible, even when I had extreme doubts that I was on the right path or that I was ever going to get out, because I was so lost and so confused. Never gave up on it. So I wanted to know why I feel this way. I had a pretty decent childhood. Didn't go through any major kind of trauma, really. I was shy as a kid, and that led to struggles in elementary school and middle school, and I started to make friends in high school, but when I got into ninth grade was when I had this major downward spiral of social anxiety, afraid of what people were thinking about me because you just can't know. Afraid of how people were perceiving me in so many ways, almost every possible way. I started trying to dig myself out of that, thinking my way out of it, because I knew that I was responsible for my state of mind. And if I had unknowingly let myself slip into negative patterns, feedback loops is kind of how the mind works, that I had created it. And if I have that kind of power, I also have the power to create positive thoughts and replace the negative ones. And that is powerful, but it's not all there is to do. You can't just add positivity. Sometimes you need to remove negative energy too. I thought philosophy would change how I feel. It doesn't. It changes the way you see things, and it's an important part of the puzzle. But getting stuck in your mind alone, thinking you're your brain, thinking this is where everything starts, is kind of backwards. Right now, I think thoughts stem from emotions, and emotions do come from thoughts. We can all see that, but I think the kinds of thoughts you have, most of them come from your emotional state, and that's an energetic thing, a thing you need to spend time with your body in meditation, developing self-awareness in order to change the energies and transmute them. No matter how much I would think, try to problem solve, analyze, criticize, try to force changes, it didn't work. I still didn't feel right. I still didn't feel good. And what I had done in high school to make friends and to open myself back up socially after closing myself off to the point that I was almost mute. I couldn't really talk to anyone unless they talked to me. I could talk a little bit, but I was really quiet. I would barely even talk to my parents because I was even nervous of what they were thinking of me, if they were judging me somehow because of my hair or my teeth or something stupid. I had this really negative image of myself. And I built these very thick walls and closed myself off, and I had to undo that. But what I did, I didn't really develop confidence. I just started acting like I was confident. Because I was having all these negative thoughts, like, of if I open my mouth and say something, it's going to be stupid. People are going to think I'm stupid. Stuff like that. And I knew all those thoughts were just completely ridiculous logically. I could tell that they weren't anything worth listening to. And that right there is a big key. Even if you have those thoughts, you just don't take them seriously. Just don't worry about them. Just brush them off. And I knew they weren't real thoughts, so I didn't really listen to them. I would just talk anyway. I'd have fun with people anyway. And I wouldn't show my nervousness because I still felt so nervous inside. but I would just act normal on the outside. And that brought me back into the world. But I still had all this fear in me. I've never known a time I didn't have social anxiety. Like when I was a little kid, I was always shy. And eventually when I got to know someone, I'd open up, I'd be fine. I wouldn't be self-conscious or anything. But I always had that predisposition. I started becoming self-aware when I was like 10 or 11 and having deeper thoughts. That's when the intrusive thoughts actually started. They just kind of took them a few years to amplify to the point of almost completely breaking me. And for so many years, because I had externally learned how to act like a person, I thought I had healed the social anxiety, and I just had all this discomfort in my body. I'm still working through, after over 10 years, I'm still working through what happened in high school. Although I'm so much better now. I'm still working through that, as well as once that's ruled out, I can't really tell you any kind of trauma I had. It's a bunch of smaller things, and they all come together in like this web, and they all tangle up and get mixed together. All these feelings and memories that you don't even remember because you don't think about them. You don't consciously think they're important memories until you start tuning into your body and they come up, and you're just inquiring about the feelings you have, and things come up and you contemplate them, and maybe that's where these feelings came from. And I've been doing that work for a while now. I went through a lot in the last few months. On top of my everyday challenges of being a parent and having a family and a job and losing sleep because I have a little kid, which brings all those emotions to the surface like intensely, because when you don't sleep, you can't process your emotions and your dreams and your sleep. They all come out during the day when you're conscious of them, and you can work with that. If you're in a position where you really can't get sleep the way you need to for some amount of time, use that to your advantage and use that emotional sensitivity to really learn what's going on with your body. Even though it's been so painful, there's been so many nights I've broken down, just lots of crying. It's been dark, but I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried that my life's going downhill, that things are going bad, because I've been through those worries so much, and I've seen how worrying about that actually holds you back. You can't overthink your path. You have to trust that there is a higher power, whether you call it the universe or spirit guides or your angels or your ancestors or God or your higher self. It doesn't make much difference what label you put on it. There is a force that guides us. If you believe in it and you tune into it and you're open to receiving it, the way that it communicates, which is a lot of the time not what you will expect. You have to trust it. And when you feel like something's wrong, You don't ask, why is this happening to me? You ask, what is this showing me? And I learn a lot that way. So I don't worry that even when things get really dark for a while, that, oh, this is forever now. You know, there's a trap that people fall into. I see it a lot. When people get into a dark state of mind, they've been there so long, they start to think that happiness is an illusion. Every time you feel good, it's all going to come crashing back down again. So when they have a good day, they start to have negative thoughts about it. They don't want to allow themselves to just enjoy it because they feel like it's going to be taken from them again. When people have a bad day, they start telling themselves right away, oh, it's just going to go back to how it was yesterday. And telling themselves that is why that happens. Our emotions come in waves. And that trap is backwards thinking. Peace is not a punishment. Hold on. Having a rough time is not a punishment for having a good time. Having a good time is the fruit of going through your shadow work. The dark comes first, then you release it, and you're more of your true self. The light at the end of the tunnel. Save the best for last. This perspective will change everything. It's a complete 180. It's one little thing you can do. It'll turn you 180 degrees, and now you're walking in the opposite direction. When you start to feel bad, and you think, okay, this isn't my default state. This is just a wave I'm riding. What's going on here? Let's explore this. And eventually, it's going to transform into something beautiful. That's what happens. When you get out of it, you're going to be a little bit lighter, a little bit more pure, a little bit happier, a little bit more peaceful every time. And that's how you use this darkness. You don't see it as your home, you see it as a place you visit to become stronger. Your home is actually your natural state of well-being, connection with the soul, happiness, love, joy, energy. You never really have control in your mind or in your life. You can't control it with your thoughts. You can't control your thoughts with your thoughts. Cultivating a healthy inner dialogue is one key, but it is not the key. When you start to disconnect from this artificial world that trains us from birth, that any moment of the day you're doing something, watching TV, reading, eating, working, somehow we are always distracting ourselves. That prevents us from that prevents us from working through all the energies we accumulate and clearing ourselves out, clearing out our energy so we can get back to our natural state. These things just build up. If you have a rough day or an interaction that is challenging for you, and then you never, in the moment, you got to do what you got to do. Later on, you want to go back to that and process it. And we never do that. We're always distracted, especially with the technology we have now. So we need to start taking time to do nothing, to just sit, eyes open or eyes closed, and just feel what's in your body, notice what's in your mind, be curious, feel every part of your body, and when you have thoughts, let them go. When you get caught up in your thoughts again, it's not bad, just let them go again. It's going to happen no matter what. You'll get caught up again, you'll get distracted in your thoughts. Every time you bring yourself back to that center, you're developing a little bit more skill of that inner silence where true creativity comes from. And self-awareness and transformation. It will be uncomfortable. And it will take time to unwind years of tangled up stuff. I remember about 5 years ago or so, it was kind of excruciating for me to meditate. I wasn't regular with it. These days it's not as bad. I'm doing it more now. I really can't tell you what I've been through and all the changes I've been through. It's too much to describe or be able to put into words. One of the things I found is that I had to let go of the creativity I wanted. I had to let go of being a musician. And I had to let myself be a being. And I have to learn that that is enough to just be. I don't need to do anything extra. I am enough with myself. And I don't want to be afraid of myself anymore. I don't want to be afraid of my feelings, the fatigue in my body, the nervousness. I want a relationship with myself. I want to be able to trust myself and work with myself and not against myself. So I'm no longer telling myself there is something wrong with me, something that needs to be fixed or healed. I'm just exploring the energies and the emotions and the memories I have. It's an intuitive thing, and this intuition, it builds over time. It'll be small at first. Things are really confusing at first. You may feel incredibly empty inside. A lot of inner pain. It's confusing at first, but this intuition builds and it grows. And you will learn how your body communicates with you. you'll start to learn what you need, and you'll start to make sense of what's going on. If you keep at this, things will start to make sense. I found that one of the things that had me so obsessed with creating music was knowing that this is my purpose. Eventually, this is going to lead me somewhere. I wasn't born with this drive and this ambition for no reason. And I'm still convinced that at some point, this is going to have a financial effect on me. I really, really wanted my music to be a source of income for me, because it's the only work I've known that I'm truly passionate about doing. And I struggled with myself so much because I always felt like having to have a job, it was taking from me, it was taking my time, it was taking my energy. And after all that was done, I couldn't create anymore because I was so worn out and I had spent all my energy. And really what was going on is I've been in a state of low energy because so much of my energy gets spent internally trying to suppress my feelings, to suppress the discomfort, to avoid it. So much of my energy is wasted with anxiety, having all these thoughts, being afraid of so many things. My energy is lost in the past and past memories where I felt hurt and I never actually healed that feeling. Another form of trauma, you could say, is growing up, I saw all these adults that were creative people, but they would start working and start having families, and they would say, oh, I don't have time to make music or make art now. I'm just gonna work now. And they would just kind of give up, and they would never try to actualize their full potential. And so what I told myself from the beginning, and I told myself I would never let go of this, which is good, but also dangerous. I told myself I wouldn't become one of those people. I would develop my creativity. I would develop myself spiritually. I would do the things none of these other people are doing, and they spend their whole lives being the same person with the same problems, never going anywhere, never achieving much. And that just sounded horrifying to me. So I made it very important that I always make time for music. This caused me to start to resent, like I was talking about, my job, everything in my life that was taking time away from me being creative. I started to resent those things. I started to feel overwhelmed, like the world was just demanding so much of me and holding me back. There was one point when I was living with my grandma and I quit my job, and I had maybe not quite a year, but a few months to not have to work or do anything, what I found was I still didn't feel good. I still struggled when I opened my DAW to make any music that I liked. And that was so painful. Not not having that one thing that I thought was a thing that was supposed to make me happy. So that's how I've learned that I can't blame anything outside of myself for how I feel. If I have time to make music, I have time, even if it's only a little bit. I can work with that. I can do what I can, and that's enough. And if for some reason I find that with that little bit of time I just can't, then maybe I need to just let go at that moment and unplug and connect to my body and just feel for a while. Maybe I need to take a nap. Maybe I've got emotions surfacing and anxiety surfacing. I just need to sit with that for a while. Maybe I need to go for a walk. Forcing yourself to be productive all the time is not good. Expecting that of yourself. I actually, I had dealt with procrastination, which is really just a way we try to avoid our feelings. And what I did was I cut out TV, I cut out video games. I kind of forced myself to wean off those things, which was good, but it also had the opposite side of making me unable to enjoy those things for a long time because I would just start beating myself up thinking I was wasting time, precious time, wasting energy, throwing my life away. But you can't expect yourself to be hyper productive, to juice, to squeeze every moment something out of it. It's okay to not do anything. We need to spend time relaxing and telling ourselves it's okay to not do anything. You gotta slow down sometime. This world is not natural. What it teaches you and what all these people around us do is not natural and it's not healthy. And if this is your chance to make whatever you make and you're just not feeling it, maybe you need to slow down and find out why you're not feeling it and get through that. And that's what I've had to do. I've still made music over the years, all these years. I've still made music every year. But I know I have so much more potential to be so much more creative. And I have also let go of this pressure I put on myself. I don't put as much pressure on myself anymore to create so much because I was doing that out of desperation from living in being broke all the time, living paycheck to paycheck, just wanting to escape that because it's extremely challenging and painful. And I saw it as a source of a lot of my issues. When really, to be honest, the issue was that the real issue was that I was pushing against my responsibilities. That I wasn't accepting the life that was in front of me. The life that is in front of you right now is for you. It is designed to show you what you need to work on right now. If you know how to read it, if you're willing to read it. Nothing in your life is holding you back. You are not a victim. Nothing is oppressing you except yourself. Now, if you're in a toxic situation, You need to get away, you need to set boundaries with certain people. But ultimately, that is up to you. I can't blame having to have a job for my inability to get all these ideas out of me, because I have so many ideas, and if I was just to not have to work and to just do music full time, I would get so much more done. But I can't blame anything for the fact that I don't have that time. I have to accept that because that's the life I have, and it's for a good reason. Nothing bad happens to us. There's only challenges that are designed to teach us lessons. So I can't resist the shape of my life right now. The more I accept it and flow with it and lean into it, the more it will guide me to where I actually want to go. There's a line in a song by Jeremy Ivy. The song is The Dream and the Dreamer. He says, "Sometimes you have to walk away just to get close." A lot of things in spiritual development are counterintuitive. You feel like you're going the wrong way. You don't want to go into all these uncomfortable feelings you have inside you because it makes you feel bad. Your ego thinks it's going to die. You're not going to die. The feeling of death is what brings transformation. Death is our friend. It is here to help. I had thought that music was the only thing that could ever make me truly happy. And I became disconnected from people and my life and the world. And I wasn't able to feel love or joy. I was so empty. I would just force myself through the day, and when I'd lay down in bed at night, I never felt at home. I never felt okay. Trying to go to sleep just feeling empty is awful. And maybe if you want to summarize everything I've been through in the last 10 or so years of wanting to be an artist, I said I've taken everything too seriously. I've taken life too seriously. I've taken music too seriously. And that's the opposite of what you need to do. Creativity comes from having fun, from feeling free, the ability to get into a flow state. Creativity is at its highest when you are able to get back to your natural state of inner peace and well-being. The closer you get to that, bit by bit, the more your creativity will flow freely and not be blocked by pain. Like David Lynch says, you don't have to suffer to be an artist. Suffering will limit you. Another thing that had me putting so much pressure on myself to be productive, to make all this music, was wanting recognition for the world, from the world. Not only financial freedom, but recognition, because I didn't feel like I was enough. I needed external validation, and I never got it. And it's good that I haven't had any kind of career success as a musician yet, because it's allowed me to work through the stuff before getting that, before starting to rely on having an audience for emotional support. It's not healthy. It's not, nothing outside of you is a crutch. To master your craft, you have to master yourself. If you have a true, relentless drive to reach your full creative potential, it will lead you into hell and back. Because it will show you everything inside of yourself that is blocking you from being who you truly are. If you want to be your true self, if you want to be, your true self is something unbelievable, almost unimaginable. It is magical. And yet the world we're born into, it just programs us backwards in so many ways. I can't even get into that right now. It's so big, it's so hard to put into words, but there's so many little things about the way our world is that blinds us to our souls. And it makes us identify with our bodies, with our brains, with our egos. And we don't see anything above that. And we need that. We need to. So at some point, coming into adulthood, you're going to become aware that you just don't feel good anymore. When you were a kid, you felt happy, you just felt free and okay all the time. Where did that go? That had me so messed up in my head for so long. Where did that go? What happened? What's wrong with me? But there was nothing wrong with me. This is just how life can be sometimes. You're going to realize that you don't feel good anymore. You're going to want to know why. And you're going to have to analyze all these things. You're going to have to find out, unprogram yourself, reset, and let go of all the things, all of the little beliefs and perceptions that are getting in your way. These will all come to the surface. It will be painful. But it's happening because you are so intent on being creative. You know that you have creativity, that it is boundless. And you know that if it isn't flowing, that's not natural. And you got to get back to that. So even though you may expect that making this choice to commit yourself to an art form, that it's just going to be all wonderful, but it's going to surface things in you. It's going to test you to see if you really want it. How hard are you going to work for it? Not just externally, not just how hard are you going to grind, how much work are you going to do, but internally. Are you going to prepare yourself? Are you going to reprogram yourself out of the matrix and back to humanity? If you can do that, you will be unstoppable. And you can. Everyone can. It's very helpful to study philosophy, spirituality, meditation, all these things. They will help you learn how to see in different ways and perceive differently. But all they really do is remind you of what you already know deep down. We have everything we need already. We have all the answers inside us. And that is why you do not need anything. And when you can't find answers, you go within. You develop that intuition. It will lead you and it will guide you. And it won't be what you expect. You may become impatient or frustrated or confused or hopeless. Just keep going anyway. What else is there to do? Give up? With giving up, there's 0% chance of ever feeling good again. But if you know that there is this higher power, that there is this force of connection and guidance and mystery, let it carry you. You are on the path. Always. To master your craft, you have to master yourself. Don't be surprised, don't be shocked when you go to hell internally, when you feel like you're in hell. This happens to a lot of people. It's not you, there's nothing wrong with you. This is natural. Don't worry about it. It is there to free you. Even though that seems so counterintuitive, doesn't make sense, work with it. And you will find what you're looking for.